Dragons, Gazelles, and Unicorns podcast. I'm Rosalie Friedman, the founder and CEO of the Center for Advanced Innovation, and today's episode topic is a novel approach to social impact investing and philanthropy. We are thrilled to have Sheri Sobrato Brisson on the show today. She is the eldest daughter of John and Sue Sobrato. She is passionate about working with children facing serious illnesses in their families. She is the founder of the Digging Deep Project, also co-author of Digging Deep, which is a journal for young people facing health challenges. And Sheri is also the philanthropic force behind Shadow's Edge, a mobile game for teens facing health and other emotional challenges. Sheri is a member of the Philanthropy Workshop, a Dame of Honor of the Knights of St. John, and an alumni of the Pipeline Fellowship. She holds a BA from the Stanford University and an MA from Santa Clara University. And I'm thrilled to say that Sheri's philanthropy has partnered with the Center for Advancing Innovation on the Brain Race Challenge and a new challenge we're launching for children's health. So thank you so much, Sheri, for being on the show today.
Thanks, Rosemary, for inviting me.
So, Sheri, you have a very unique approach to philanthropy, and I'd love to hear how do you approach it?
So I learned a lot from my own Family of Origins Foundation, and that is one thing is to be extremely responsive to the needs. And if some of the needs are basic operations, that's great. And if sometimes what needs to be pushed is innovation, and that's another way to look at how philanthropic dollars can build leverage. Another super important thing for me personally is I'm only one small philanthropist. And if I'm ever going to make impact in the world, I need to collaborate. And that's with innovators, collaborate with other philanthropists, or perhaps already engaged businesses that are doing phenomenal things. Because just as a single philanthropist trying to put my name out there or put my name on a building, that's not what's going to change the world. You know, I think big partnerships are the way to go. The other thing is I think you need to give what you know and what you're passionate about. There's so many opportunities to give, and I think we personally make the most impact if we pick something where we are focused and passionate.
Excellent. Well, what are your focus areas?
So I had been a patient when I was a kid in many different surgeries, and then as a young adult, I had brain cancer. So naturally, I wanted to focus on the impact of illness in one's life. And I kind of approach it by several different ways. One from the pure biological medical way, which is funding medical research, funding brain tumor research, for example, but also on the patient experience side, like what is the psychosocial impact that long-term illness can have on one's life, on their emotional life, that is. And I'm also very interested in capital campaigns. How can we improve, invest today to improve medical technologies for the future to help people?
So how did you come up with the idea for Shadow's Edge?
Well, I came up with it, like I said, because I had been a patient and I knew what it was like after I had gone through the medical challenges to deal with getting my life going again, for lack of a better explanation. I needed, and because I worked with kids and families in the hospital who had very much this similar experience to mine in terms of today, so many kids are surviving and going on to thrive and live full and healthy lives. Or, maybe they do have some challenges that they have to deal with along the way on an ongoing basis, and they need that emotional support. And it's a time when that emotional support isn't always available because social workers are very busy trying to get a family reimbursement or to figure out how to get that hospital bed in the living room to send a child home. And what was really missing, I felt, was a simple tool to help young people deal with the emotional side of long-term health challenges. And for that reasons, we started the Digging Deep Project, which attacks the emotional side and support of young people in a variety of ways. First, through the journaling book, Digging Deep, that I co-authored, and gave away for free all over the country. And now it's new innovation, which we'll talk about later, which is Shadow's Edge. But also by supporting a lot of different psychosocial support services for patients and families.
What are some of the other support that you provide for families?
everything from basic need financial support. I think that's so important, because if you don't have that, how can you be there emotionally for your child?
Yeah.
So I do that. So
Right,
basically, whether they just need babysitters and things like that to watch their other children so they can spend more quality time at home with someone in the hospital. I think that's very important. The child life services that are available to support patients directly and families, both support their emotionally what's going through, but also to help provide preparation for those kids going into difficult procedures, so that they know what's going to happen, because that gives them the upper hand, helps them feel a little bit more in control. I'm really one for when somebody's sick, their whole life feels like it's been turned upside down. So anything that I find that I feel gives a young person or their family members a sense of control is something that I want to support, where it builds up the patient and empowers them.
That's amazing. So just going back to Shadow's Edge, what do you see the future of Shadow's Edge to be?
So let me explain a little bit about what Shadow's Edge is, and then I can tell you where we're going with that. So we are a free mobile game for teens and young adults, and it started for kids with chronic and serious illness. That's one version. And the second version, which is currently out for free on the App Store or Google Play, is about really the emotional needs of teens in general, whether it's a mental health challenge or just challenging to the stresses and difficulties of being a teen or a young adult in today's wired and yet very complicated world. And so that's where we are. We're in 6 languages, and so we're ready to scale. So that's our next phase. I mean, we are excited about getting this into the hands of the young people who could need it. So number one, just letting people through partnerships, educational partnerships, healthcare partnerships, tech partnerships, know about what it is that we have available and try it out. That's the first part. But the second part really is about stickiness. You know, anybody can download Shadow's Edge now that hears about it, but we're very excited about building a whole community around our game, just like we had done with our book. We created blogs to support professionals, parents, and the young people themselves in learning about and understanding why it's important to pay attention to one's emotional needs, and all kinds of different techniques to address that. And just like that, we are building a community around our players in the game, both inside the game through a sharing platform where young people can share the graffiti, which is one of the fun things that kids get to do in the game, is to create a bunch of graffiti and journal writing to move through their emotions and to sort of tap into that inner strength that they have within themselves to grow and move forward from their challenge. So one thing is they get to share graffiti and lots of inspirational words within the game, but we're also building a community outside the game where they can continue to blog, or share best practices, share their feelings. So ultimately, I feel this community will help young people feel less alone. And to me, that's very important, because especially for these very complex health challenges or long-term life family situations of adverse life circumstances these young people find themselves in, it doesn't necessarily go away. And what we need to do is provide support around a person, both from the inside, from their own coping skills, from their own understanding of what's going on, and from their own choices they can make, but also from the outside, is how can we put an envelope of support around a young person so that they can feel that they're not alone, that they can feel empowered by other people, because there is so much knowledge and wisdom that other people can share, and we want to build a community to be able to do that.
How are you going to build a community outside of Shadow's Edge?
So we do that through social media and through blogging. So our teens blog for one another, because every young person that I've met that has been through a challenging time, if they're like 1 inch or 1 step ahead of the next person, they want to turn around and pull that other person that's behind them a little way up. And we want to provide a platform where we can share those positive stories of encouragement, but also a platform where they can share their difficult times and even be in the thick of it and get that sort of positive response from those people around them to encourage them to keep trying. So so that's how our community is envisioned and growing, both through blogging and also through positive messaging that we're going to put on social media, that we're already putting on, but we're planning to expand it in a very big way. I mean, there's one thing inside the game, we buried a bunch of, psychosocial wisdoms and coping ideas and things like that. But, what about just wanting to have something pop up on your screen that is a positive message from Shadow's Edge about dreams and hope and anything encouraging? It could be an idea about a little idea about how to cope, or it could be an idea of a book to read or another resource or things like that. And I think once we start posting, and young people will feel self-motivated to keep coming back so that they can see what else we're posting, and will be self-motivated if it's helping them to share it with their friends and share it with other people that are either in the hospital or people at school, people that they know might be struggling like they were.
Well, I've gone through the entire Shadow's Edge game, and I can say that the wisdoms are wonderful. I would love for those to pop up on my screen every day. Every couple hours would be nice too, or on my phone or something like that. I'd love getting like little text messages from Shadow's Edge.
I just think so much possibility for positive technology, and if people only knew it was there, and that's as to how to reach out to those educators, those healthcare professionals, those parents, and to the teens directly. I mean, we're going to build the community by working with the teens directly, because they know what they want, they know what they need, and they know how. If we teach them how to build the tools to do that, and I'm sure will teach us many things in return if we work together.
So do you envision a virtual reality being a part of the game in the future?
Oh, I'm glad that you asked that. That's my personal special wish, because right now VR let's just take the medical environment, the one that I know. VR is being used right now in a number of ways with young people. The first and foremost is distraction from painful procedures. Put on that headset and pretend like you're, on a trip somewhere. And there's certain value to that. But
oh yeah,
what the real value is, I think, is if you can actually use VR for something therapeutic. I mean, there's VR products now in the market for pediatrics where it helps them with pain, actually helps them through meditation exercises like that to move through and even beyond their pain by using positive feedback, biometrical feedback, so that they can move. So it's not distraction, it's actually addressing the issues themselves. Or fears, for example, to become desensitized to your fears. That exists. But the thing that we're most excited about with Shadow's Edge is we would like to be the first people to use VR to build empathy between patients and their caregivers. So for example, the quest in our game is to restore life to a barren city that's been decimated by storm through one's self-expression. So through writing, your journaling, and through making graffiti. So suffice it to say, a young player can make hundreds of graffitis all over these different neighborhoods, all over the city. And how powerful would that be if a young person could just put on a VR headset and see their whole world reflected back to them? Because that's really what therapy is, right? Is seeing ourselves in a different way than we've seen ourselves before. And how empowering would that be for a young patient to be able to see how far they've come and to see the struggles that they've already been through to motivate them to continue on. And if a patient themselves can understand their experience better through the use and augmentation of VR, what if we handed the VR glasses to a parent or a brother or sister or a caregiver, and literally they could walk in the shoes of that patient and they could see this is that patient experience. And if they have that empathy, would they maybe think about how they could help that patient in a little bit different way? It's so hard, especially for teens, to really communicate with words sometimes what's going on for them. And if they had this other tool to let people know where they are, for one thing, just would help identifying those patients who need more intervention and need more support. But it could also help just build that empathy. And, my dream is really to take our tech solution, which is, pure and simple, a game that kids play on their cell phone and be able to have technology enhance human interaction. I mean, I think that would be the ultimate for me. If I saw relationships deepening and if I saw communication building because players have played Shadow's Edge, or because if and when we get our VR version out, it builds that strong sense of understanding between patients and their caregivers and other family members and friends. To me, that would be a huge success.
I think every relationship could use that. the ability to be empathize with someone else, because sometimes you don't even know if you're if there's something that you could do to enrich a relationship. That's wonderful. That's a great direction. So just how did your own experience with cancer reshape the vision for your life? And
oh, wow.
Would you could you walk us through that?
Yeah, I think, well, I'm coming, let's just tell the audience here for a second. I'm coming from the very long-term perspective. I'm a 32-year survivor and had brain cancer as a young adult. So I've been through this many different times, and I think you do relate to things as you grow up and change and have different priorities. But a long time ago, I had to really think through a lot of things in order to move beyond my illness. I think I healed physically. That took a couple of years, but really it took many more years to heal emotionally and to feel re-engaged in life and like it all wasn't going to be taken away again. I had to work through those fears, but I also had to let go of some things that maybe weren't working in my life and rebuild with the ways that I wanted to see my life in the future. And so I would say that my whole experience boiled down how it really changed me was that it gave me freedom to live my life the way that I wanted, freedom to make the changes that I wanted to make. Because, when you almost die, you realize that things really cannot wait. And that if you want to make change, you better do it now. That would be number one. And number two is the most important thing was this connection piece that I was talking about, which was deepening those relationships. I mean, I think all of us kind of walk through life, and sometimes we don't really ever talk to the people that we care most about at a sort of deeper level because of a variety of reasons. I mean, it could be patterns that were set long ago in our lives, or it could be so many other just day-to-day things come up that we end up talking about. But I think learning how to put myself out there, how to be real with people, be authentic. And because of that, opening up the possibility of them being real back to me and forging that new connection has really enriched my life. And to be honest with you, I don't see how I could have learned that without having been sick. And so part of this whole project, to be honest with you, is how to speed track people into figuring that out. But, people do not just jump from a place of not having that to having that. I mean, I think it's a whole process. Yeah. That's why our tools were just to move people to that place of connection with themselves and with other people in their lives.
So, Sheri, could you give the audience some tools or suggestions or best practices if they wanted to try to change and deepen their relationships with others, and they have a difficult time speaking about things that are very important and to them? How would you encourage people, or what tips would you give to people to do that?
One thing that I learned through my own process was, I think a lot of people get stuck in patterns with people in their lives, and they hope that the other person will change. And what I learned was, if you make the change first, they're going to have to change because of that. So I would say, have the courage to put yourself out there. I mean, one of the reasons we picked graffiti as a metaphor in Shadow's Edge is because what's that about? What is an artist doing? Well, he's splatting himself out there so that everybody can see it, literally like putting them out there. And one thing about sick kids, which the game originally was developed for, but really people in general, they keep so much inside, so much of who they are inside. And if you can, I learned that it is up to us to put ourselves out there. If we don't have connections, we can't always, look at the other person and say, well, why aren't you connecting with me? I mean, it's our responsibility themselves out there. And it's kind of shocking to people. I mean, I remember when I started doing that and started expressing myself in the moment of feelings that I was having, and just really started being real. I was a little rough around the edges at first. I got to tell you, it wasn't easy at first for me, the environment, but it was surprising to people because I was breaking patterns that had long since been there, which had been me sucking up feelings that I had and not really expressing them. And I'm not saying that we should, instantaneously go out and start reacting to everything and going off the handle with people. I think there's safe ways to do that. And I think journaling is one of those great tools to do that. But just get those feelings out. Don't wait. It could be journaling. It could be talking to trusted people. It could be venting in a nice way, and then making sure that it's the time and the place where somebody's ready to hear and receive what it is that you might say. But I think putting yourself out there is a great boost in one's emotional health.
That's a fantastic suggestion. Well, I think everybody, all the people who are listening, has to have to do that one time every day.
Okay.
So Sheri,
it's about challenges, Rosemary. That's what I love about you.
Well, I am absolutely thrilled that you worked with us on the Brain Race Challenge, and we're about to launch the Children's Health Challenge, which is really exciting. And so I would love to, I'm absolutely thrilled about that. What compelled you about the Center for Advancing Innovation's model?
Well, I think as a philanthropist, my dream's always been, okay, I want to launch an X Prize. I want to be part of solutions and be part of innovations. But I remember hearing, and you mentioned I'm a member of Philanthropy Workshop, and I remember we had, a senior person at the X Prize come talk to us. And I thought at that time, which was over 20 years ago now, I thought, wow, if I could ever launch an X Prize, that's what I want to do with my philanthropy. Really, the Center of Advancing Innovation it's like having my own little mini X Prize about things that I'm thinking about without doing really any of the work. Because I remember, with the X Prize, they launch teams and they have a challenge to solve a problem. And so when I first heard about Center for Advancing Innovation, I would think that would cost, millions and millions and millions of dollars to be able to have impact in terms of launching solutions for something that I was concerned about. But what I was thrilled about was after we talked about it, you immediately came up with things that resonated with me, and I had an opportunity to participate in our first challenge together, the Brain Race, with an organization that supports brain tumor patients and their families through research and patient support. And this was a dream of mine to meet this organization, the biggest in the world. And here you put us together, which was very exciting. And then you heard my next thing, which is, yes, I had a brain tumor, but I care about all kids who are facing illness, depending on what. It doesn't matter to me. Those, being a brain tumor survivor, I don't really fit into cancer in general. I don't really fit because I survived and did well. I don't really fit in with other brain tumor patients. So even brain is sort of a stretch for me because nobody has my exact same situation. And I have a heart for kids who have to deal with the long-term challenge of having illness interrupt their life. And you've allowed me to participate in that dream of helping them, regardless of what that health challenge is. So that's what motivates me. And as a small philanthropist, to be able to have the kind of leverage that your model provides into making a small investment to a bunch of different companies, some of which will end up being big and successful companies and really solving the problem. It is a lot of leverage on philanthropic dollar. And then, who knows? I mean, some of these companies will turn into full companies, and I'll have an opportunity to invest with impact capital to be able to grow and scale them. And that will be another exciting opportunity. So all in all, I think, I've been in the field of philanthropy almost 25 years, and it was one of the most innovative solutions to offering leverage to philanthropists that I've ever heard of.
Oh, thank you, Sheri. I have to tell you, I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity to work with you. And we're really excited. The Brain Race startups are being judged right now. And we'll be announcing probably around Valentine's Day, the winners. And we have some really strong ones. And on the Children's Health Challenge, we have identified 20 really strong inventions. We've done a whole bunch of work on the invention portfolio so far. So we're excited about moving that forward as well. So on both fronts, thank you again. Very grateful to partner with you. I guess I have just one more question for you. And what do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, wow. Well, I think that, as any philanthropist probably would feel, is that I employed my philanthropic resources wisely. So I would really, first and foremost, be known for that. But in a particular area where I would like to see my legacy be is to have had significant impact on the physical and or emotional well-being of young patients and their whole experience around getting well and staying well and their well-being for as long as they live.
That's quite it. Well, you're doing that, Sheri. We're going to be launching another, these 30 companies that are going to come out. They were going to make an impact. You're going to get a chance to watch them grow and do exactly what your legacy is, and you'll fulfill it. So again, very, very grateful to have you on the podcast today. And thank you so much for sharing and being so transparent and, providing valuable insights to the listeners today. So thank you again.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.